Hey y'all, this is Amanda and welcome back to my Texas Zone 8A garden, and it is mid-March and we are doing the first garden tour of 2023. Okay, so we are experiencing warm weather. We're just about to my last frost date, which is March 15th. We're a couple of days before that, but you can see that the garden is already alive. I'm going to start taking you through the front garden, the side garden, and the back garden. I'm going to be very upfront and let you know nothing is perfect here. There is a lot of mess, especially in the back. I have a lot of projects going. I did not run around to clean up the garden before doing this garden tour, so this is actual reality. This is actually my life. Okay, so you can see the tulip projects did work out. The tulips are starting to come up. I believe this is Sunny Prince that's coming up and Ruby Prince over here. And I believe the same exact ones are on this side. What I think the difference is the sun is getting less sun coming from this direction, but as the sun passes overhead, this guy is getting more sun. So he's kind of growing a little bit quicker than the rest. All of the violas are still doing beautifully all the way across the front. You can see that my Mount Hood daffodils are just beginning to bloom. They've been a little bit later. They are new to me this year. And I do have the viburnum or the grape hyacinth starting to peek out. These are absolutely beautiful blooms. Let me get Jeff to give you a close-up of those. There, just scan across so that they can see. Yeah. And I really like the way this hedge is looking all the way across the front, the mix of the violas and the viburnum and then the Mount Hood daffodils kind of layering itself in. And then once the violas kind of start letting go and we get a little bit warmer, I'll probably be replacing them with something like petunias worked in, which I think will look glorious. I do have some salmon impression tulips that are blooming, and they are just ridiculously gorgeous. I was waiting for this garden tour before I picked them, but I will be picking them later this week to do some flower arrangements. I ended up having some more hyacinth come up. I know if you've seen some of my other videos, you probably heard me say I thought all the hyacinth except for one didn't make it. I have more coming up, which is exciting. And then of course, additional tulips. Okay, I have lots of hellebore blooming like crazy. I'm getting new blooms. The old blooms, of course, on hellebore last for months and months. Really enjoying those. Those are kind of coming up. And I am seeing some phlox popping up. Some of my perennials are starting to pop up at this point, which is really exciting too. We're not expecting any more crazy cold weather. We're kind of in a good place right now. I think we're going to be fine at this point. One new to me hellebore is this one in particular called Black Diamond. And Jeff, if you'll get a close-up of this bloom for them. My husband is doing all of my videoing today. But you can see the really dark colors of these petals. And then directly below it is actually a mum that has perennialized here, and it is spreading like crazy. I think I'm going to let it spread this year. It's kind of going all the way back there into the corner. We'll see how it does, but after this year I might have to start digging some of it up. Now you might recall my heuchera project. I planted 5 heucheras, proven winter heucheras across the front. Everybody made it through the winter just fine. Everybody is producing new leaves, and so that'll be really fun. I know a lot of y'all were really interested to see how they did throughout an entire full year. These are planted in the fall, so now we're at spring. The summer is the area that I'm really nervous about, but I'll let you guys know and keep you updated on how those are going. So this area of the garden is really filling out beautiful. All the daffodils are already done. So I've gone ahead and I've pulled out the blooms. That's one thing you can do to really help improve the quality of your daffodil bulbs is pull out the individual stems of the blooms once they've kind of faded. And that allows the plant to put energy into the bulb as opposed to putting energy into saving the flower. Here's the recent project I did with all of the branches. They're going to be for gladiola structure. That gladiolas are going to come through and these are going to support. But you can see all the Icelandic poppies are blooming. Jeff, you want to get a close-up of some of these? They're just absolutely beautiful. So the yellow, and here's one, a bud about to open, which is really fun. The coral, I think these are so beautiful. This white is at the end of its blooming cycle, but still absolutely gorgeous. This container, I did put this on Facebook and it went viral on Facebook. And last time I checked, it had 750,000 views. And so my Facebook following has jumped just a little bit right now. And then here's the front area. This is something I do every season. I filled it in with penny blue violas. That's this deep, beautiful blue kind of violet color. And then a variety of pansies as well, kind of a mauve color and a burgundy. And I did that all the way across the front. This is absolutely gorgeous. These eventually will fizzle out when our temperatures get above about 85 to 90 degrees. And then they'll get replaced with some really fun stuff for the summer. Also tucked in the Dusty Miller. I love the Dusty Miller for a winter accent. Dusty Miller is actually a perennial in my particular zone. I don't think I'm going to be keeping these, but we'll see. Okay, so there's lots going on in the garden. I'm not going to go over every single thing for you all. I will point out that I've begun tucking in pots in different places. If you didn't catch that video on all the pots I bought from a lady on Facebook place, they are all getting tucked in and I'm excited to start filling them for the spring. Back over here is a variety of perennials that are still coming up. They're just getting started. I will say even have some dahlias peeking out already, which will tell you how warm our weather is considering I have dahlias coming up already. Now back this direction, it's not super interesting. I just got all of my boxwoods. Back in here, this design is going to be gorgeous this year. I divided up my lamb's ear into 3 or 4 different locations and I put it across the front, which is beautiful. I have tons of, let me think what it's called. Viburnum. Oh, I can't. Galaxy Viter. I'll put the name down low and a picture so you remember what it is. It's a long purple flower with long stems and it is perennialized and keeps coming back. I also have a lot of Peter Cottontail yarrow that's coming back. I've seen coneflowers coming back. I mean, so far I'm really excited how everything's doing. My winter pots, I have some older tulips as you can see right here, but we're still producing beautiful tulips, violas, the Swiss chard and the evergreen. These are all looking lovely right now. And then back here, I'm going to get Jeff to swing around and get more of a view from here. Okay, it's super windy. I hope it's not affecting the sound too much. But to the side of the side garden, I've got my double wreath spirea, bridal wreath spirea. They are coming into bloom. They're a little weird this year in that they're not flushing all at once. They're flushing a little bit at a time, which is kind of different for them, but they're absolutely gorgeous. You can see that in a matter of a week, these are just going to be solid. It's going to look like popcorn waterfalls. Absolutely gorgeous. I have lots of daffodils coming up. And then Jeff, if you'll come in a little bit closer. So this is what I'm talking about with your daffodils. When they get to this point and you've got just the, this end part and the bloom has, is gone, you just reach out down all the way to the bottom, give them a pull, break the stem off, and then throw this away. It leaves the pretty greens behind and allows the plant to focus on putting more energy into the bulb as opposed to trying to keep that flower alive. It's just going to give you bigger and better blooms next year. Look how gorgeous these are. These are just from a variety pack from Lowe's, you guys. Look how stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. I have so many new varieties of daffodils this year. I'm just loving them. All these violas are just looking beautiful as well. And the Ruby Falls Redbud is coming into bloom. I love when this gets covered with the little purple flowers. Absolutely beautiful. So this guy will flush out with green and then turn to deep burgundy tones. And then I actually have a coordinating one that I'll talk to you as I work my way over. Here is another winter planter looking beautiful, filled out. I've already had some of the tulips give way, bloom, and they've come and bloom and gone already. But some of them are beautiful. I'm going to be picking all of those in a little bit. All of my guars coming back, all of my oxeye daisies, and I did have a baptisia back there, and I see a touch of green on it, so I think it's coming back. I think it made it. If you might recall, I planted a whole bunch of perennials last fall in October and November. Most of them were from Bluestone perennials online. So I'm really kind of excited that I'm seeing a lot of them come up. Now, one of the big failures in the garden is this guy right here. And this was my first topiary. I went through a whole thing with root rot, tried to save it. It didn't work. So what I'm going to be doing is I purchased this from Callaway's, and they do have a 1-year guarantee. So I'll get Jeff to help me haul this out. I'll cover it up with a trash bag so I don't leak stuff everywhere, and I'll take it back to Callaway's and exchange it for either another one or something else. I haven't really decided yet. If you have a damaged or diseased plant that you're returning to a garden facility, make sure you bag it and leave it in your car. Go inside, talk to them about what it is that you have before bringing it inside. If you have a disease, they don't want you to bring a diseased plant into their nursery and expose everything there. So leave it in your car, talk to one of the associates before you bring it in. So right across the front of this is a new garden that I've been working on that has a lot of perennials, including dianthus. It has some Shasta daisies. We have thistle, our blue globe thistle. We have a wide variety of iris, bearded iris that we planted this year. I have a couple of planters of winter planters that I tucked in. They are at the end of their life regarding the daffodil bulbs. Jeff, let me get you to get a close up of this new variety I planted this year called Early Cheer, and it has multiple blooms on each stem. Absolutely stunning. These are one of the first things to bloom during the, I guess, late winter, mid to late winter. But they're looking really good. I am getting to the end of the season on these, so I do want to pull these as well and allow the bulbs to focus on bringing energy just to the bulb. But these are beautiful. These snapdragons across the front, guys, these were tiny when I planted them. I'll have to put a picture up how little they are, but these are all about to burst into bloom. These are all closed buds, and they're all about to bloom in the next week. Actually, here you go, Jeff. There's one of the blooms. Let me crawl back into here. Look how gorgeous these are, that color. Absolutely beautiful. So while the daffodils, they're going to kind of be going away, it's going to be taken over by all these beautiful snapdragons, dianthus, pansies, and violas in this space. So this was one of the new ornamental trees I planted as a focal point in this particular garden. This variety is a Golden Falls redbud, so it's actually a complement to the Ruby Falls redbud. This one has more yellow-green colors, and then it has a more dramatic, kind of tighter fall. It almost looks like Cousin It in its shape, but it is blooming up really well. It made it through the winter and looks really great. Tons more perennials starting to come in bloom. I'm not going to show a ton of that to you guys yet. This was some additional portions of the perennial garden, including some cat's pajamas, nepeta over here, some really beautiful Russian sage, a couple of new varieties of sedum, coral jade sedum, and back in black sedum, which are all coming back. Everybody's looking really good. I will say my sweet almond verbena, I think that it's not going to bloom on the branches. The branches are extremely brittle, but I notice all the way at the base, Jeff, if you'll show them, it is coming back from the base. So I'm going to give it a little bit longer just to confirm that we're good to go, and then I'm going to be cutting it off at the ground level where all that green is. I'll cut right above that and allow this to come back from its base. It is a fast grower, so it should be fine with that, but you can see, like, this is so brittle. I mean, this is not green at all anymore. I had read that that is actually a way to maintain the size of a sweet almond verbena, is that you can just cut it back every season and let it come back from the roots. But I'll be really excited for that one this year. There's so many beautiful things in the garden that are new to me this season. I cannot wait. Over here, I did a recent extreme cutback of my smoke bush, and what had happened was the smoke bush had grown about 10 feet high and had started leaning dramatically that way to the point where it was starting to pull up the roots when we had any kind of serious wind. So I went ahead and cut back all the branches, and you can see This height is ridiculous, right? So literally it was like leaning all the way over. I saved all the branches. I just threw them into the garden for now because I figured I'd do some kind of project with them at some point. I actually thought that 3 of them, I could put them together to make, you know, some type of trellis situation, tied them together for some of my, maybe some of my tomatoes this year. We'll see. But those are looking really good. This corner area is an area I actually really want to focus on this year. I kind of ignore it because it's at the very edge of the garden, but I wanted to add way more annuals into here. I do have my oak leaf hydrangea. I think it's still green. It's starting to green up just a touch. This guy has always struggled here. I haven't really decided what to do, if I'm going to keep him or not, but we'll see. But let's go to the backyard and I'll show you guys all the chaos that is back there. Okay, so you're immediately going to see some carnage right here. And when you guys are seeing this, I'm making this video. It's not out yet. It'll be out not long after this garden tour. I am creating a little bit of a retaining wall on this side because this entire side of the garden had kind of fallen off. And so I built the retaining wall myself and am filling this in and fixing this up so that that does not happen anymore. But you can also see behind me that the willow tree is fully greened out at this point. I'm obsessed with it like I always am. It's absolutely beautiful and it is the centerpiece of the backyard. It is literally one of my favorite things in the entire backyard. And truthfully, when we moved here, this is one of the first things that I planted was a willow tree. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, willow trees, they like all the water. Yes, they do. And if you look down at the ground behind me, you can see all the divots and stuff in the grass. We have a drainage issue on this portion of the yard, which is why the willow tree was the perfect choice for it. So it sucks up all the water. It loves all the water. And the drainage issue is really from my neighbor's yard and they're not going to fix it. So I'm always going to have this drainage issue. So having the willow in here kind of makes, you know, not so great of a situation into a better situation. Okay, so it's kind of muddy. So let me get Jeff situated and we'll come back. Okay, so I do have some iris, Dutch iris coming back over here. This guy right here should be blooming the next day or so. Less than I had last year, and I think that I need to replant a little bit of iris each year because a lot of times the bulbs don't come back. But I've got at least 15, 20 blooms coming up between this and here. Now this portion of the garden is all getting ripped up in that video that I was talking to you about. The retaining wall was the first portion. I'll be coming through and I'll be weeding all of this out, and then pretty much 3/4 of this, or I should say 2/3 of this right here, is going to get covered in landscape fabric and it's going to have mulch on top of it. And the reason being is I literally have thousands of amaranthus seedlings that come up here. It got too chaotic. It's not something I really enjoy, and it is something that struggles throughout the year. So I really want to be able to wipe this area out, start a little fresher. I think everybody in their garden has that first area they worked on when they started gardening, and it becomes kind of a hodgepodge, just sticking things in and trying it. That's this area for me. So by taking kind of a portion of it, 2/3 of it, and I'm going to restart it, I think that's going to work really well. I love this third portion over here. It has phlox, it has iris, it has drumstick allium, it has tons and tons of zinnias, it has lilies. It's a really beautiful area, this bottom third, but this section really needs to be redone. So scanning over here, you can see all of my raised beds. I have a lot coming up in it, including foxglove, nigella, larkspur, canterbury bells, the perennials I planted, including David's phlox. I even had some of the green dragon cress over winter, y'all. I did not consider that, I did not think that this was a perennial in my area, and we had some really harsh weather. So this is the green cress, green dragon cress. And so I just kind of cut it back a little bit, and now it's coming back in full force, which I'm really excited about because this was a filler greenery for me this year. It was new for me last year, and I absolutely love it. Got some stock blooming over here. All of my rudbeckia that I grew from seed, the Sahara varieties, they're all coming back over here as well. A portion of this bed, with the exception of my bronze leaf fennel, that's going to stay. All the rest of this will get cleaned out because this is not perennial, and this won't be coming back. This will all get cleaned out and have new fresh seedlings planted. All seedlings I started from seed. This bed over here has a couple of globe allium coming up. It's got a ton of drumstick alliums coming up. It's got my garlic coming up. I mean, this bed is going to town this year. And if you remember, this was my dahlia bed last year, which was a complete disaster. So I'm really excited to see this already coming to life. Now over here, you're going to start seeing some of the chaos. The porch is trashed right now. I've got a whole bunch of my seedlings spread out in different places. Everybody's looking really good. I potted up all these seedlings recently. And even within like the last 5 days, they've already put on a ton of growth. Specifically, all of my basil seedlings have just gone poof. Like they've just been so excited. I think they really needed to be potted up. But that's what we've got all in this portion. If you want to step over here, Jeff. Got all the seedlings over here, the potted up seedlings, and then these seedlings right here are all seedlings that are going to be going directly into the garden beds. I've got stock, I've got straw flower, I've got status, absolutely beautiful snapdragons. Everybody's looking good. I have all of my potted hydrangeas back here that are coming back to life. Everybody's greening up. This whole installation of potted hydrangeas is going to get moved to the new shade garden once I start and finish that. Over here, I've got more containers filled with bulbs, including more muscari. And I think earlier I might have said viburnum. I meant muscari. Muscari coming up over here, a bulbine perennial. This is all the grass. This is that project I've been working on with my daughter. All the ranunculus are coming up beautifully. Everybody's getting big, specifically in this container. They are loving life in this container right here. You can see how beautiful and lush all the ranunculus greens are. I haven't seen any buds yet, but I don't think we're that far off from getting some. And then directly behind me over here is the ranunculus raised bed as well. And remember that I split my ranunculus up into raised bed and some container ones just to kind of see. And I will say so far, I think the ranunculus in the containers are doing better than the ranunculus in the raised beds. Why? I'm not sure, but it's just something to consider. But these are all coming up. I'm definitely ahead of where I was last year. So hopefully we'll have lots of blooms. So right over here is my snapdragon and lisianthus bed. They're both looking really good. I have my first snapdragon coming up right here. I believe it is an apple blossom snapdragon, which is super exciting. Lots of the snapdragons are budded up. They're looking great. I've got scabiosa coming up over here. This is the Sweet Rocket pale lavender, and this was a biennial. So I grew it all last year for nothing, just for greenery, but this year it has gone bonkers, and I should have blooms for it this year, as well as more snapdragons this way. Now that garden bed is a garden bed that's leaving, so I'm not going to pay much attention to it. But let's swing over to this garden that we worked on. So earlier in the winter, I worked in this garden and redid it and cleaned it up. These containers are the ranunculus and anemones coming up. They're looking really good. Specifically the ranunculus in the containers, once again, they're just greening up way more than the ones in the raised bed. Okay, and then this is one of my big projects this year, the shade garden, which is going to be this whole area over here. Jeff, I'm going to get you to come forward and swing around so that they can see. So this whole area is going to be a huge project for me and for Jeff. He's smiling back there for both of us. We're going to be doing a potting bench over here. We're going to be installing a Vigo garden that's about waist height, about 3 feet tall. It's going to have the potted hydrangea garden. It's going to move over here. This whole area is going to get filled with gravel, and we'll have some stepping stones. So you're not going to see any of this grass anymore. And then we're going to kind of create an entrance to this area with some type of arbor arch situation that has climbing roses. So it's a huge goal for this year, huge project, but I'm really excited to be able to kind of explore shade gardening a little bit more. When you talk about shade gardening, it's not something anything you would typically associate with Texas, but there are a lot of beautiful large trees, and we all have areas of our yard that get shade due to where our house is or whatever you've got within your yard. And so this is going to give me the opportunity to explore that, but that is a project that's going to come later on in the year. Whew. Okay, it's getting cold. We're going to wrap this up real quick. The maple leaf tree is blooming, which is great. And then all of my containers across the front are looking really good. If you also recall, these are containers that I have topped off with more soil this year. They've all got new perennials in them that are all showing green. This one right here is Obedient Plant back over here with a couple of yarrow in front. This one right here is Verbascum Southern Charm. I have my at the back, my clematis is actually coming back, the one I planted for bare root last year, which is looking nice. My beauty berries coming back, the Oh So Easy Rose. This one is called Urban something. I'll put the name down low. It's coming back beautifully, although I do think I'm going to trim it back. And then these containers, I topped all of these containers off with new soil. They had sunk about 12 inches. And so topping these off is really exciting. I'm actually really excited to be adding some things to these containers this year and really kind of doing them up a little bit bigger. The Verbascum and the Obedient Plant I talked to you about, those are both pretty crazy, they kind of a little invasive, so I don't want to put them directly into the ground somewhere. By having them in a container, they're going to be tall 3-foot blooms, absolutely beautiful, and they should really fill out beautifully in those containers over the years. So I want to continue that same idea with the remaining 3. The Hypericum berry right here, these all need to be cut back. You can see all they're green. I'm going to probably hack them back by 2/3, which I know probably sounds crazy, but it is going to give me the opportunity to get some new growth. I did not trim them as well as I liked to last year, and they got a little bit kind of like thin and straggly looking. And then we have the remaining 2 containers over here, as well as a couple of the hydrangeas. One is a little lime hydrangea, and it's coming back. And then this endless summer one back here, which is called Twist and Shout, it is coming back as well. So that is so exciting. I really had a lot of plants make it throughout the winter, so I'm just really excited about that. And it's really exciting. I feel like we're having a little bit of an early spring. We've had several days of 70, 80 degree weather, 80 degrees in February, y'all. But I'm really excited to see all the green coming up. I'm excited to get going on my projects, and I am excited that I have now done my first garden tour of 2023. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed my first tour of 2023. I'm really excited. I know I'm excited every year, but this year I'm even more excited. I'm really excited about the amount of perennials, bulbs, things I've invested in last year should start coming to fruition this year. They're not going to be fully grown, but we are going to start to see them shape the garden in different ways, which was a huge goal for me. Investing in perennials is always way more expensive, and then I ordered them from Bluestone Perennials, and they come super tiny, and so it's really hard to envision them in their place when you're planting this super tiny plant into the garden and hoping like, okay, that's supposed to fill a 3-foot space. So I'm really excited to see how those do this year. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when my latest videos are up, and make sure you check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.